Welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Monday, April 27th, 2015. Vice Chair, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Absolutely. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What do we have?
Do two of them.
I didn't even...
Number one and then... Second.
No, I don't have it.
Should be the first sheet. The first
Okay.
one. Yep.
Please be advised, Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker has ordered the United States flag of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts be lowered to half-staff in all buildings from sunrise to sunset on Wednesday, April 15th, 2015, in order of the individuals who lost their lives and were injured during the Boston Marathon bombings of April 15th, 2013. And also lowered to half-staff on all state buildings from sunrise and sunset on Monday, April 20th, in honor of Corporal John Michael Dawson, 22, United States Army of Whitensville, Mass., who was killed in action on April 8th, 2015. A moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, on the agenda, after reading mail, department heads roadway improvement plan for the highway and public safety plan updates. Those two will probably be reversed so we can get our safety department off to planned training that's going on today involving a number of towns. After that, we have input and updates from members and the public. 7:15 town boards, Wilton 300th General Planning Committee is still meeting, and Mr. Homer should be in to talk about the finalized plans for that. And Conservation Commission acceptance of gift of land in Queen Road. Around 7:30, town meeting preparations, followed by the town administrator and the assistant town administrator for finance and budget. Financial management policy amendments to adopt the intermunicipality agreement with Boxborough concerning our cable TV, and 2016 Selectmen's Goals update, other business minutes, and so forth. Mr. Town Administrator?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple of items in the mail packet. One is that we received a briefing from Massachusetts Emergency Management Association with a schedule of briefings for affected communities for January 26 to 28, 2015 blizzard funding that the President had declared a disaster for the first of the four events that we had, and we've submitted our claims and we'll be attending the session on how to get the money. Next, we have an invitation from the Friends of the Council on Aging and the Council on Aging for their annual volunteer appreciation luncheon, which will be on May 13th at noon in the multipurpose room. And just a couple of other upcoming events for the boards and the town's information. This Friday, May 1st, from 5 to 7 p.m. is the grand opening celebration at the Point for the new Starbucks. And then on Friday, June 6th, at 2 p.m., will be the ceremonial groundbreaking for the Potpourri Group's new 450,000 square foot building. So I'm happy to see all this activity.
Okay, moving on, if the chiefs would like to come up. Deputy, feel free to come right up here.
We're going to zoom in on you anyway.
If possible, Chief, do you want to go first so we can get you? Would you like to explain what's actually going on today? So when people see fire trucks and ambulances going by.
So this evening, through a few of the members of the department, they have put together a training opportunity for our department as well as some of the surrounding towns. And what we're doing is an MCI, a mass casualty incident involving a chemical component at the high school in the auditorium, or simulated in the auditorium as like a pepper spray release. And so there will be multiple victims, there'll be children, there'll be adults, the whole age range, and they will be exposed to this product, and we will be doing, it'll be called in as, some irritant, and it'll expand, and we'll bring in some additional mutual aid, as well as, all the rest of our department, and have a RAM decon set up, which is basically a couple of fire trucks that are faced side by side, just deluging people with water to rinse chemicals off, and then treat their injuries, and do a transport, basically, around the other side of the high school for the hospital. But it'll give everybody that opportunity to deal with a chemical component of an incident, and how to deal with, the hazardous materials, how to act, how to, what's your perimeter of safe distance, try not to get contaminated, things like that. And get these individuals, in addition to controlling the people that have been exposed. So it'll be a pretty good test for...
Are you going to make them actually go through RAM decon?
Yes. They've all been told to bring extra clothes.
Which is 75 degrees.
It's going to be a little chilly.
Should have the board volunteer, what'd you do?
Oh, we probably would have volunteered if there wasn't a conflict.
business.
So that's what, that'll be happening tonight from probably about 7 to 9:30, once it's all said and done.
How many think you're going to have as far as not only your volunteers, but all your firefighters and EMT
I
staff?
believe there's in the ballpark of 35 volunteers alone,
Wow.
just for victims. On top of that, we've had, I think there's between 20, 25 of our members that'll be showing up. Then we have an engine and an ambulance from Air, engine and ambulance from Harvard, an engine from Boxborough, and somehow we had another engine from Bolton. Bolton wanted to participate, so
Nice.
they're coming up. I don't think they've ever done anything with us, but they wanted to participate. But, and then we have the paramedics will be coming from Emerson, from Pro. I think that's about it. A couple of the supervisors from Pro, ALS, just to observe. And actually, one of the Emerson Hospital reps will also be there in attendance, just to observe and take notes. So, should be a decent, and it's all being recorded. Kirby has a crew down there, and they'll be recording it, and then we'll be playing the whole thing back on LCTV eventually, probably within the next couple of weeks.
Now, do you yourself take an active role, or do you sit back and watch the whole thing and take notes and...
For tonight, it'll probably most likely be the deputy will be in charge, and just to run them through the paces. Also, I'll have the opportunity to take notes, kind of have a safety role. Pay attention to everything that's going on in the scene. If you pay attention, you can give different people direction. Things of that nature, just to really keep track and observe, see what we can improve on. We have a critique right after the incident, and so that we can talk about what went well, what didn't, and what would we do different next time. But this is, the focus of this incident is to basically, get a mass of people deconned very rapidly. There are other things within the district called it's an MDU. It's a big, you probably see it at the Boston Marathon, big yellow, like a tent, and it's got like sprinklers and people can go through it, but it takes a while to set up. So this is a little more crude, but it's effective and rapid. So.
Real life, I mean, you wouldn't have one of those tents on, do we have one?
Boxborough has one. So we'd have to call Boxborough, and then it takes 10 people to set it up. About 20 to 30 minutes, if you have an idea of how to set it up. So we don't, something that rapid, and people typically want to run from a scene and leave. They want to get out of the building and go away. So if we can control them, then we can do this decon, get whatever's on them off, and deal with it as quickly as possible.
Thanks.
So,
No.
anyway, tonight,
No, yeah.
Meanwhile,
our goals. I sent out a list of goals last week or the week before I went on vacation. And some of the items that we're focusing on over the next year to two is our fire facility, our fire engine replacement, which includes our fleet reduction program, evaluating our staffing, continuing, we're going to trying to recreate or readdress the strategic plan for the department moving forward. We're also exploring the paramedic service, or a potential paramedic service, and enhancing our services with that. And we're continuing with our public education. But first off, with the fire station for the fire department facility, we're still, as far as I know, looking forward for next spring for design and going forward with construction in spring of 17, if it still stays in there. I just spoke with Greg Correll from the Correll Group, and we've received some updated figures on that, and we're just waiting to get it all put in for the full spread of exactly how the costs are broken down on the facility. Over the last year or two, we've had various versions of that and of the facility, and we've shrunken it down, explored other sites, and I'll have a much more formal presentation on that in the beginning of June with the new board, and show the storyboards and get more into detail with that. Moving forward for the spring, or for town meeting next week, as long as hopefully the engine gets voted in, if that occurs, then it'll give us the opportunity to start our fleet reduction program. So this piece of apparatus, being a new engine, will replace our 1997 engine that has some issues, and it's also going to replace our rescue truck. Right now, that new engine would be a little bit larger, but it would take two pieces of apparatus that have rescue equipment, put it all into one, so that on a weekday, we can get all of the equipment that we need on a scene right away, so that we can be a much more efficient and effective response company, instead of counting on other people to respond back to the station for a call, which typically doesn't happen on a weekday. So it would also reduce some time. And by eliminating two pieces of apparatus for one, basically it's bringing our fleet up to a little newer, would be saving on some maintenance costs, and it's one less vehicle to maintain. But that would be the first step of our fleet reduction, and we'll be moving forward with that with an additional couple pieces the next few years as well. One of the other things is, ongoing, since I started about 2.5 years ago, we evaluated the staffing, and we created the around-the-clock coverage, the 24-hour coverage, which was able to staff our ambulance around the clock, where we noticed significant reductions in response times. And that's been very, very successful. And now, moving forward, we're still evaluating our response times, evaluating the call department as far as their responses, and returning for responses on nights and weekends. And one of the goals will be to address that. Are they coming back? Are we getting the second piece of apparatus out on the road in a expeditious time? And will we need to increase on our full-time staffing to at least add potentially a lieutenant to every shift, so that there's 3 of them around the clock, so we can get the ambulance out the door and maybe one person to drive the engine out right away, and have the deputy and myself meet them on scene, just so they can get a little bit more of a rapid response. And still constantly relying on the call department. We actually have 5 people going into the next call vol program in July, and they'll be graduating in November. So it's we've been on a roll, definitely, with having people interested, but on the other side, we still have some of the senior members that are starting to fade out. Even some of the newer guys have had very little participation, and have faded out or moved away. And for one reason or another, as many as we put on, it seems like we lose on the other end just as much.
What's your total number there, chief, for your call?
Right now, 28 on call. So we used to be 62.
Yep.
There used to be 62 members, and then over the years, it just went down, and we went many years where there wasn't any interest between cost of holding recruit programs in-house and lack of interest. We went several years where there weren't any additional put on. And now that it's pretty much streamlined and everybody runs through the fire academy, it's all standardized. So if there's an interest and people are willing to dedicate 5 months of their time, we're more than glad to put them through the academy. And it's at no cost for us. They do it all on their dime. When they're done, they graduate with a certification, firefighter 1-2 certification, and then we put them on the apparatus and their small introduction to the department, and they're ready to respond with us. So that's been a great program. One of the other things that we're doing is recreating our strategic plan. Between the officer corps, some of the full-time staff, and a couple of call members, we're right now going through the process of actually evaluating the questionnaires, as well as having information to be sent out to the community. That should hopefully be done probably by August, September, rough time frame for a strategic plan. That'll be, I wanted the ability to have some outside input so that everything for the department, I have a plan and the way that the department is going, but I want some additional information from outside, just to say, hey, maybe there are a few other ideas that we can streamline things, maybe some other ideas on recruitment, things of that nature. And if we can get some of that outside information, then I think that'll be a help. And as well as evaluating our apparatus. Maybe there's something else in the station, in the new station that we haven't thought of yet. And we haven't even really got to the design phase of that yet, but now is the time that we're, have the ability to take all of the input in from department members as well as the town.
Are you still going to be affiliated with the Collins Center, or is their work done?
Their work is done. Their report came out, and actually we have met all of their recommendations except for the new fire station at this point that they put into their report. I feel pretty good about that. They did touch on apparatus, staffing, increasing staffing, around-the-clock coverage. There's been, as well as the station, that was one of the big points, and I feel that we've made a lot of progress on moving forward with a new facility. I'm not quite there yet, but it's, we still have a lot of work to do. So I think that by trying to base our strategic plan, or, something similar to what happened then with surveys that go out, I think we'll get a pretty accurate database back to review, to put everything together with. We're also exploring the paramedic program and doing the transition. Currently, we run basic EMTs, and we run a paramedic service, still based out of Emerson, or Pro Ambulance. Pro Ambulance runs the Emerson Hospital paramedic service, and they also do the billing. We also have the opportunity to use Westford and Air as our an ALS backup service, advanced life support. What we are currently in the process of is collecting all of our numbers. And that's analyzing our run volume, the funds that we bring in for the medicals, and what would that cost if we were to go to the paramedic level. If we expand up to the paramedic level and increase and improve the services that are available for the town, we have paramedics on scene in that 3 to 5 minute time frame, which is our standard response, instead of waiting that 10 to 15 for them to respond out of either Acton or Lincoln. That's typically where they come from. We'd offer far better service to the community, And it would also, that revenue stream would come direct to our department. So the goal is to, once we're done with this, analyzing this whole process, is that the funding mechanism would be there to support hiring the paramedics to run that program. But like I said, we're still in the process of analyzing numbers, and right now, it looks pretty good, but you'll have further information when that's complete as well. And our public education, we're expanding on that. Over the last couple of years, we've really enhanced our public education, and I mean, let's face it, we don't have fires every day anymore. So it's all about being out in the public and life safety and keeping the public aware. Fire prevention has expanded so much over the years. Nobody has fires anymore. I mean, when you have them, they're either very minor or they're devastating. But all in all, it's a significant reduction. So by expanding our public education, we're going in with the seniors on a regular basis now at the COA. We have we're doing the SAFE program from grades, I believe it's kindergarten through 6th grade. And then we're doing CPR every year for the 8th, 10th, and 12th graders, in addition to all the teaching staff in all of the schools. So we're going on the 3rd year now doing the CPR in the schools. And this is the first, last year we did K through 3. This year we're doing up to the 6th grade for the SAFE program.
Certified too? I mean, do they get a certificate?
They don't. They're doing the public awareness level.
Okay.
And so that they can do large groups. They all have hands-on. They are exposed to the AEDs, the automatic defibrillators. And so they'll have that every other year as they go through school. And every child will graduate knowing how to do CPR and use a defibrillator. Some of the other things that we're looking or hoping as we go forward with the public education, if we're able to expand into the paramedic service, will be to have a community-based like alerting system, where we're going to be able to go into the homes. We're going to do more prevention, fall prevention, simple care. There's, I believe it was, somebody on the Cape had just rolled it out. They're the first fire department to roll it out in the state, even though it was going to be rolled out by the hospitals. They broke out and said, we're going to try this. And they have the support. So this happened 2 weeks ago. I just read the article. And I'm hoping that we can do some additional, depending on our outlook with our paramedic program, that we'll be able to offer this, an advanced service to the seniors in the community. Instead of basically taking them to the hospital, we'll be able to go in and evaluate them, talk to them, make sure they're getting the appropriate care that they need, instead of having an expensive hospital trip every time. It's just one more thing that we're evaluating and trying to keep track of. Any questions?
Questions from the board?
Yes, please. On the reduced response times with the ambulance service, be able to objectively, at least somewhat objectively, say that you've saved a life that perhaps might not have otherwise made it?
Absolutely.
That's super.
When we were, before we went around the clock, we had response times in the 13 to 17 minute range, and that's unacceptable. We have had a couple saves recently with between the Narcan calls, CPR, people that have been unresponsive where CPRs have been initiated at night, and that's directly related to arriving on scene in that 3 to 5 minute window instead of, that 13 to 17 minutes that's a point of no return, unfortunately. And it's been very successful having them around the clock and having the ability to get on scene so rapidly.
Case of money very well spent doing that.
Absolutely.
And you offered me a segue with Narcan, topical right now. The cost, is that impacting your budgets at all?
No.
Okay,
Bill?
I just have one question on the paramedic, once you start digging in and really drilling down as far as your numbers. I would be interested in hearing that process through. You know, once you
Absolutely.
start the process, come back to us and at least explain to us. I mean, paramedics can be very expensive.
Yes.
So the more you inform us of your process to determine whether or not it's a yay or a nay, would be very helpful. I know to me, and I'm sure the rest of the board members, so.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
As-
the folks watching.
Right. As the information becomes available, you know, right now, like I said, it looks positive. I want to make sure that it remains positive and dig a little bit deeper. If it stays on that track, then yes, there will be a presentation.
Great update.
Well, I just wanted to follow up on what Jim said, is that, you know, we were forced years ago, when Emerson decided they weren't gonna do it anymore, to go into the current arrangement. And that arrangement for ALS is a money-making proposition, but it's not for the town of Littleton.
Correct.
And if we can get to the point where that model works and it's locally based, it'll be Blackham, not Reading.
That's what I'm looking for, hopefully. Westford and Air have both done that recently, and it's been very successful. You can expand out even further, you know, Ashby, Townsend, several communities out that way have all gone to the paramedic-based program and have either broke even or are having additional revenue coming in.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Thank you. And no offense, but.
You were so long-winded, I'm leaving.
Chief King.
Evening. Obviously, first on the list was the strategic plan. I'm not gonna go into it as intricately as Chief Wazinski did. We're, as you saw by my memo, we're right in the middle of a lot of different issues with it. I consider the strategic plan much like the master plan for the town, the strategic plan for the police department over the next 5 years until my retirement. We've assembled a lot, you know, I've looked at a lot of strategic plans. That's the first thing I did after you talked about it, and, you know, in the meantime of waiting for promotions and other things to occur within the department, I pulled strategic plans from Holliston, Bedford, you know, a lot of different towns that are similar in size to us, saw what they did, saw the good, saw the bad, saw the ugly. You know, one of the main things is, coming up next for us, is putting together our citizen-wide survey for the town, because again, you know, much like Chief Wazinski said, I could say a lot of things, but if it's not what the community is looking for, then we're not giving them the right tools. Now, obviously, you know, there's some tools that we all know, you know, patrol for one. You know, I can tell you right now, you know, our need for more patrols is increasing. It's not going to decrease. We have 15 Great Road coming online, Point coming online. We've already seen some uptick from the Point just because there's more flow through the community just to get to Market Basket alone. And the calls in Market Basket have not been overwhelming, but however, there's been more shopliftings and been altercations in the parking lot and things of that nature, something we didn't certainly see as much at Dollins as we have seen over there. You know, nothing overly concerning, where, you know, but there is certainly an uptick. So we're, you know, we're moving through it. I'm looking at the possibility of coming back to the board in either June or July and talking about, I've looked at a company that, much similar to what you're going to end up contracting for the master plan to help me with the 5-year strategic plan. It's one that worked with many of the communities that I have looked at their master plan. I'm stealing as much as I can, for obvious reasons. Plagiarism is never a bad thing when it comes to things like that. So we are moving forward, and I may consider doing that. My time frame is still to be done by October at the latest with the strategic plan. I certainly want to have it out there in time for, to be quite honest with you, to have it out there for budget season next year. So if there's any questions on strategic plan, when we hit that first, then I'll move along.
I have a couple, and it's timely right now, but police tactics, which is obviously gathering a lot of attention nationwide, and how that relates to and from diversity of the population. In particular, the police force, some have been questioned about that. So this is a different place than Baltimore, obviously, and some of the other occasions. But is there any component in there to look at that and be proactive in all of that?
Well, I mean, obviously, I consider us a multifaceted, forward-moving police department. I would say to you that, it's much easier for me to affect change in a 20-member or 18 full-time members and 12 part-time members than it is in a 1,000-person force or different things. So, I would say that's always ongoing, Mr. McCurdy. I would say that, we always look at how we do things, and I think we're able to affect change even quicker. So, certainly, it's always in, strategic planning, is always part of this. I look more at the strategic plan as obviously training, which is a big part of what you're talking about, comes from training. But also, I looked at more of the strategic plan as in the plan for the core of the department, our training and our policies. And our policies is really the core of what you're talking about, is what's the control of how things get deployed and how things are done. And I believe, as you've seen later on, we're still moving through the accreditation process, which is actually was much more wieldy than I thought it was originally. And Mr. Carr warned me about that originally, how accreditation processes can be. But, it's all in one, moving forward.
I guess I was gonna ask you about the accreditation process, and where are you as far as that goes?
All policies have been issued for the first set, which is certification, and now we're just doing, cleanup of, we're making sure all our backup is there, which is the big warning that you told me about, is, making sure, okay, if you have a policy, it's all great, but you have to make sure that you're tracking how you're doing with that policy. And there's a few minor building modifications that we have to do, which is ongoing, which is, coming up here shortly. I'm hoping to see a certification here anytime in the next 2 or 3 months, and then we keep on moving right forward. I think that the second half should be better than the first half. Sergeant Pinard and Deputy Chief Patterson are still working hard with the consultant, but again, I've been surprised how many times we've retweaked or had to retweak policies. And as they change, and as accreditation changes, we're constantly moving forward. So we're moving forward. I feel good about it. I feel good about the policies we have, and I'm confident about it moving forward.
So your first step was just getting all the policies written, approved, and in place?
Right. You approved all the policies.
Right.
I do have one more coming up here shortly for you, because now that we have the K-9, obviously, you have to approve the K-9 policy. But that's only that one. All the policies get put in place. Now we're tracking them. Like, for instance, we've always done, let's say, the evidence room, inventory. But now under the policy, it's even more strict than it was before. And we have to have a cycle of having done those, have done the inventories to show them that we're actually following what we said we would do. And things like that, just like you're gonna see it getting a little tighter to get inside the inner sanctum of the building. You have to sign in a few other, nothing major, town employees and selectmen, it's actually an easier process than it is for like an outside contractor and things like that, but that's to secure the inner part of the building. They wanna see the sign-in sheet, they wanna see the tag that you give people, things like that. So that's the process we're moving through right now, is more the backup to the policies. Because as you know, if they look at the policy and that's all well and good, they really almost don't care about the policy to some degree, as long as it meets A, B, and C. Now show us that you're doing it.
Sure. And you think it's gonna be within the next year or 6 months?
Oh, yeah, I'm hoping, I was hoping for spring, to be honest with you, but they only meet twice a year, the commission, and I'm not sure we're gonna make the May commission meeting, so we'll probably make the fall one. You know, again, we're plodding along, you know, it did take a little, you know, I've been chief for just around about a year now, 8 months officials from September on, about a year from when I was acting. So, you know, once some promotions and other things, you know, kind of slowed some processes down to speed some other processes up.
I'm just curious on the public questionnaire, any thoughts at this point of how to get that out to people, the method?
Well, we're gonna try to do it as many ways as we can, because obviously the larger the response, you know, and I think that's always the question from any board that gets it out there. You know, we're gonna try and talk to the light department about mailers, and we're also gonna try, you know, get it on web-based, so people can answer that way, you know, and, we'll try and do it in many ways we can, make the drop-off as easy as possible. Some of it's gonna be, I'm gonna go to, you know, different functions and pass them out and hopefully get them back before they leave the function. They're not gonna be so wieldy that somebody can't do it in a short period of time. But obviously, the more, you know, the more responses you get back, I think it gives you a better feel of, you know, what the community and, you know, as a whole wants. And that's key for everybody.
Makes total sense. Sounds good.
I just have one other thing, Mr. Chair. I know we were, when we were setting our goals, there was a woman, and I can't remember her name, that was in the audience talking about strategic plans, and I see you have 2 appointments
Yes.
for the community at large. I wish we could find her name, I can't remember her name. She'd be a great help to you. So if you're watching.
Yeah,
Contact
I'm
her.
watching her. We'll go back to the August 8th meeting.
Yeah.
That's when it was, so I'll take a
Right.
look at the August 8th
Yeah.
meeting on cable and see if I can pull that up.
She'd be very interested in doing some work.
So, you know, again, we're going through we're actually going through a major compliance check on May 5th with the criminal the criminal justice information system. It's the precursor to the FBI one. We're set as complete as we can be. I feel fine about it. I'm not concerned at all. Sergeant Raffaello and Bill Harold and the deputy have really worked through that. The K-9 is here. They're in the academy. They're just started their 14-week academy today. So he'll be coming in when he's a little bit better behaved.
As you can see.
When he climbed up my desk at the, when he climbed up my desk in my office, I decided it may not be ready to bring him to the Selectmen's meeting yet. He's a great dog, though.
What's his name?
We're actually doing a naming, we're giving a list of names. We're gonna do a naming at the May 16th. And this is the May 16th open house at the police department. And that's just a date that just was completely firmed up. So May 16th, 9 to 1, we'll be doing an open house. There'll be kind of a coloring book drawing thing for the kids about the German Shepherd. And he's from Slovakia, so doesn't speak English. So it's been quite interesting. We had to look up sit in the, on the internet to try and figure out how to get him to sit the first day.
What are the hours on the 16th?
9 to 1. And there'll be another email coming up.
I'll send you a flyer, Charlie.
And the deputy was just putting out flyers today.
Why do we have a dog from Slovakia?
That's, they import them from all overseas now because the breeding over here is interesting. But he's a really inquisitive dog, great personality. So far, I couldn't ask for anything better because, you know, I was talking to the head handler who ran the canines for,
Son of Sam.
yeah, the canines for the marathon, and he said, you know, luckily they didn't have to do anything. He said, but you know, other than take 10,000 pictures and let 400 kids pat the dog and pat the different dogs that were there and stuff. So I'm also looking forward to that part of it too. It's it's not just about the law enforcement component certainly is extremely important, but it's also a great community tool in our schools and for our people. So I'm looking forward to that.
How's your nonprofit money raising going?
Pretty good. They're moving right along. They've got a lot of commitments. Some of them were just waiting for this not the fiscal year, but their fiscal year to re-kick in again, which is coming up now. I just got reached out to by a couple of large companies that just reached out to them today. Middlesex Corp reached out a few weeks ago, Sam Park, others, so we're moving along pretty well there as far as that goes. I'll give you an update sometime around June 1st on where we're sitting. And the only thing I really do want to talk to you about is staffing levels. We haven't grown since 2004. We got back our 17th officer this year, which is where we were in 2004. And I'm getting to the 18th and 19th officer, and I realize money's always an issue, and I realize people are expensive, and I don't think I really asked for personnel just on a whim, but I need to add to the patrol force. I need to increase my 3 to 11 coverage, and also it's become a need now. The type of case we handle now in the domestic situations and the issues like that are the paperwork is almost overwhelming now by the state just for a simple OUI. It used to be 45 minutes, and it's 3 and 4 hours now where an officer's off the road between booking and reports and other crazy stuff. So I guess I'm just telling you that I'll be coming back at you at some point here, looking at it. It's nothing new. I think I've told all of you before, but it's not just for the sake of growing. It's also because I also want to stay ahead of the curve of 15 grade road opening and the point being fully operational. The average around us, we're about 10,000 people now population-wise, according to what I was last told by the town clerk. I'll be interested in, well, I won't be here in 2020 when they do the census, but I'll be curious to see what, so about the average is about 2 officers per 1,000 is the typical. So at 10,000, we should be around 19 or 20 people. It's not the only factor, obviously. Work factors out there. Our opiate abuse, like everybody else's, is a tragic situation right now. We're doing as much as we can as far as education goes and as far as educating those people, but I guess I'm not normally into making statements, but I will make this statement to any dealers that happen to be watching tonight that we are looking for you, and we will get you at some point in time, and it's unbelievable. And I've been shocked about some people, even in my own personal life, who I never thought would be using, Percocets and pills and things of that nature, who I find out later on are on that. And it's just a terrible situation right now throughout our town, the Commonwealth, in our country right now. So we have to get better at it, and we're working on it. Obviously, a big part of it has always been our senior citizens. The deputy and I have coffee with the senior citizens the last Wednesday of every month. We post it, 4, 5, 6, 10 people show, 4 people show, whoever wants to come in and say hello, and so we do that constantly. Ashley Brooks has got a class coming up with them on basically on scams and things of that nature again. We're constantly running our different programs in the town. Rape and Aggression Defense has got a class going right now, I think with 28 or 29 women in it. We also teach it now constantly in the high school. That's part of the program we run along with the SRO. And we're making some inroads, some new inroads back down in the elementary schools to help with, strangers, things like that. So we're always looking for new and innovative ways to make things happen. I also, will tell you that I'm not touting our own ship, but I think we try and squeeze every penny out of what the town gives us, and we certainly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Roadway improvement. Your time get all used up.
All right,
Grind and pay them all.
another one of your goals is to review and update the 10-year plan. It was first adopted in 2008. We've spent almost $3 million in roadway improvements since that time. Next up is a $2.9 million project for reconstruction of New State Road. And at town meeting next week, we're seeking an additional $1 million in borrowing authority as part of the funding to float the road projects that are going forward.
Back in 2008, at the request of the board, we put together a listing of some major roadways that needed to be repaired, based on some analysis that was done by the highway department and some of the pavement management systems that were in place back then. And we identified what we thought at that point was about 10 million in roadway improvements, and defined a 10-year period to try and address those. To date, combined with borrowing authorization, state funding, and local appropriation, we've spent just over $10 million in improvements. So it's quite an accomplishment. It's been done inside the levy limit. There's no capital exclusions or debt exclusions that have been utilized to fund these improvements. Some of the highlights were the completion of Goldsmith Street through state grant funding, or about $3.2 million in TIP program funds, along with another $1 million in waterway improvements for that road. We completed Crane Road, Bruce Street, Whitcomb Road, Harvard Road in previous fiscal years at a total cost of just shy of $4 million. And Neshoba Road will be completed sometime this year at about $1.8 million. As Keith mentioned, we are pursuing a $1 million borrowing at this May town meeting to address the new Estate Road project, which we're estimating construction somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.9 million. So with the design fees and everything, it's going to be about $3.2 million. That will kind of tie us up through fiscal 16. So the next road would need to be addressed in fiscal 17. That would be the next available round of funding. We're in design right now for Nagog Road in that time frame. I'm estimating that we might need to borrow an additional $735,000 in order to complete Nagog in that time frame. Again, these are all estimates. The pricing will change as we go through the process a little bit further. Again, and all of this has been factored into the operating budget as inside the levy limit authorizations. We're still on target, in theory, for completion in 2021 of those original roads that were named. But again, that's kind of a moving target at this point, once we finalize the costs. We are looking at updating the pavement management system. We don't currently have one that's supported. I can't remember the name of it, VHB or...
Yeah, Road Manager 2000, maybe.
Yeah, it's kind of dated.
And now antiquated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are in the process of exploring, different software vendors and their products and what would be, the best match. We're estimating that to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $25,000. I think it's funding well spent in order to better analyze the condition of the roadways that we have currently in place and figure out if we need to identify any changes within the plan. We have done that in the past. For an example, New Estate was not in the original draft of the roadway plan, but got moved in as conditions changed and storms and weather conditions changed and roads deteriorated differently. So I think that, we're going to need to do an update on, especially after this winter, what roads might need to be reviewed and see where we're at.
Chairman, if I may, where do we stand on the Neshoba Road? How close is that now?
We're scheduled for binder on the second section for the week of May 11th. So they're moving along pretty quickly. They're supposed to be done in June.
Completely?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, they're moving pretty quick.
Any questions?
Just the list of the roads, I guess, as Bonnie said, to have an update, see what's come on based on this winter, the horrendous winter that
Well,
we're
what,
just getting out.
the thought process was that during the budget process, we asked to update the, asset management system, and because we're so far out already, we have a couple years worth of work, we didn't think it was a big rush to get it done. If we could get the asset management system back in place, that we could, play around with that a little bit to get, the computer-generated list.
Makes sense. Makes sense, so long as we get something.
Well, we have,
Because you get asked, where's my road? Where's my road? Is this road on? Is that road on?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it's, there's a plan, but we haven't updated the list quote-unquote, the road list. So to have something where the public can see, or at least ask questions about it, would be nice. And I understand if we have to update the software and then go visit every road, and you tell us based on what your computer program tells it and what your eyeballs say, we gotta develop that list again. I think that would be very helpful.
I agree, I think that software sounds like a good investment tool, obviously, support collecting data and using technology, so that sounds great.
Short money.
Yeah, because as I recall, as originally contemplated, was a sound plan and aggressive plan, but nevertheless, we're still going to leave us lagging a little bit. Have we been able to reduce that lag? Is it increased? How are we headed on that?
We tell people the simple version is roads last approximately 20 years. We have 62 miles of road, so that should be 3 miles a year, and we do approximately 1.
So we haven't closed the gap yet. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks very much. Thanks, Bob.
Ms. Harvey? I just put the numbers together, you have to do it.
Okay, public input, anything from the public? Okay, if not, the board, at this time, I'd like to start off first, and I want to take the opportunity to thank the colleague to my left, whose last regular selectmen's meeting is tonight. I want to thank him for his dedicated years of service on the Board of Selectmen, being 9, and over 20 years of service to the town. You'll be greatly missed, and I certainly appreciated being on the board with you.
Thank you. If I could take a moment here.
Perfect timing.
I would like to thank some people, and if I were to mention their names, I'd probably have my house painted again, so I won't mention their names. But in 2006, when I ran for selectman, there was a couple of people who called me almost daily, said, "You can run, you can win. Why are you procrastinating?" And they kept after me until I ran, and it allowed me to see through something I had in my mind for a lot of years, and that was to serve this town at least 20 years. And that came to be because when I got here as fire chief, I absolutely loved working with the people of this town, and Littleton's strength is the people who reside in it. And it allowed me to serve in a very different way, and it was quite a challenge and for everybody involved. But one thing hasn't changed since 1993 when I got here, and that is the strength of the Littleton people. And so I just want to thank them for giving me the honor and privilege to serve such a great bunch of people. Thank you.
Other board members?
No, thank you, Alex, it's been great serving with you, and that's it for me this week.
The 15th Annual Tiger Golf Tournament is this Friday. Still have room for some golfers, so if you'd like to join us, it's always fun. You can contact Mike Blinn at 978-952-2749. Hopefully the weather stays nice.
Mr. Hall? That's it? Thank you very much. Moving on, Mr. Holman, if you want to come up and talk about the 300th committee and where the committee stands. And
Do I have to come up or can I sit here?
no, come on now. I don't know how many people ask me, why are you still meeting?
Maybe you'll find out. Okay, first of all, on behalf of the committee, I just want to thank the Board of Selectmen, Keith, Bonnie, everybody. You were absolutely 110% with us. We never had to ask, fight for anything. You just were there to back us up. And I think that was part of what made, and I hope you all agree, that the celebration was a good celebration. It had its glitches, It had its nerve-wracking moments, Keith, right? But we got there.
It's all part of making history.
That's right. And we got there, and, you know, the committee really, really appreciates what the backing that we had, and that's, I think that's very important. We have a couple of things to do. We have a plaque for the contributors and everything else that we want to present to the town. Now, we have not set a date for this. We also have the time capsule. The time capsule, we're still putting things into that. One of the things that's holding us up is a picture book of the whole celebration. We're putting together a book of strictly pictures, basically, of the celebration, all parts of it and everything else. Naturally, we're trying to get as many faces in it as we can, the more books we have. We're not looking for a profit on this thing. It's, you know, if we break even, we're fine. But what we want to do is have something, and we're working on, the next meeting we have, which will be the second Thursday of May, we will set a date and to have a final celebration, if you will. We're thinking of, and this is just thinking at this point, we're thinking of continuing, we would like to continue, excuse me, I'm getting a cold, we would like to continue the 300th. We don't want to just drop it. We would like to continue it, and the feeling of the committee is that we probably can do it in terms of maybe a free picnic every year. Maybe, and this, it was just a thought that I had, you know, maybe we work it with the triathlon. They have it in the morning, the triathlon in the afternoon. We have a picnic like we had, that 450 people showed up for, you know, this year. And it's a free type of picnic. So we want to continue the 300th. We want to continue that. We also, therefore, need and would like to continue the legacy. Now, getting involved with financing. Contributions and everything took care of everything, with the exception of a few things in the legacy. And that's where we took the money that the town gave us and used that for the legacy. We did a nice town hall sign. I think you all have to agree that that's a lot better than what we had. And, you know, we've got the Welcome to Littleton down in Mannion Place, and we've got the start, just the start of the Common. And the Common with the help of the Rotary and everything else with the clock and all. So we want to continue that. And a thought amongst a few of us is, and I've gotten calls from people on various committees and people that did not take part, that would like to see us continue. And therefore, you know, we have to disband our committee at some point. We have to, the friends that we had will disband their committee. They still have money and are taking care of bills. I think everything's paid, but just in case. And so what we want to do is possibly move forward with a new group of friends, not a town committee, because that gets too cumbersome, absolutely too cumbersome. They move forward and raise money. I've talked to Scott Edwards at the Light Department, and they're willing, they have all the fixtures for putting up the banners and all. They are willing to put up banners for us. We would pay them. It would not be like we did this time. They did that for us. Now, we would pay them, but we would say put up 50 banners in town and have a contest of what kind of banner and everything else. So it's just, these are just ideas that we're thinking of. We'd have one big event to raise money. Then that money could go, we'd have a committee on the Friends that would allocate that money, whether it be to Legacy, to the Garden Club, to the COA for heat assistance, or anything else. In other words, we'd just like to sort of move it forward, move forward with it, and not let the 300 just die with what we did. So those are some of the thoughts, and I'd like to, take any input from anybody. Maybe we're nuts. I don't think we are, but I think it's a great opportunity to work forward. Kimball's has talked about doing something with us. There's a lot of things. I mean, we could talk about it, but that's basically it. So that's where the 300th is. We will not formally go defunct, if you will, for a couple more months until we have the time capsule done and until the commemorative plaque is up and the picture book is up. But again, thank you for your support. It was really tremendous.
When's the plaque gonna be done?
The plaque is done.
I know it's done, I saw it.
Yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, but as far as the town goes, I thought that was gonna happen soon, that you'd be making a presentation to the town and get it up.
Well, okay, I'll have to talk to the committee on that one. I'm sorry, I don't have, I don't know the answer to that one.
Any questions at all?
Just one, just one quick one. And Jack, would you, yourself personally, still be continuing on if, you did the continuing activity on the committee?
I want to find a chairman.
Pass them
I
down.
want to find a chairman.
Perfect. Get you- And is that picture book, would that be something for sale for anyone to buy, or is that?
Yes, no, that will be for anybody, and the committee is working on that. We finished the 300th, and it was sort of a letdown. And you say, and now we sort of have to rise up again and get moving. Yeah, because we sort of just went, oh.
Well, I don't think you're crazy. I think it was a great year, and I think, having an excuse to celebrate our great town once a year I think it's a good idea. Obviously, money's a question, but I like the concept.
No, no, it was fantastic. With the fantastic, I mean, where the money came from, it came out of the trees at the time. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Millie McGovern answered her doorbell one day, and Millie was on our committee. And here is an attorney with a $10,000 check from the Morrison Foundation. We had absolutely no idea there was even a Morrison Foundation. I mean, we knew the Vincent Cooper, and we got $10,000 there, because we went after that one. But just another example, we went to visit the people at FIBA, a brand-new company in town. And we came out of there saying, gee, maybe we got $1,000 or $2,000, and we were happy. The next morning, we got a call, where do I go to the $10,000 check?
That's great.
I mean, those are just a couple of examples. I mean, and I could go through a lot more. But, it was at the, but then, on the other side, you gotta be realistic. People who have done business in this town for years and years and years and years wouldn't even return our phone calls. Okay? With that, what else can I say? I mean, but that's reality. That's reality. But I'll tell you, there was much more good than the other side.
Anything? All set. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Moving on. Conservation land on Queen Road. The Conservation Commission voted on April 13th to accept the gift of conservation land. Now, we are to vote on this also.
Right, it requires approval of the Board of Selectmen. They are allowed to acquire land for conservation purposes without a vote of town meeting, but only upon your approval.
Who's taking responsibility? Are they gonna take, the Conservation Commission gonna?
Yes, it'll be under their custody, their care, custody, and control.
Okay. Is there a motion then, Mr. Chair?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, subsection 8C, to approve the acquisition by the Conservation Commission for open space purposes of 0.23374 acres of land from Marie Valley of Western Mass, shown as lots 24 and 25 on Assessors Map U15, and as lots 3095, 3096, 3097, 3098, and 3099, on a plan entitled Map B of Long Lake, Town of Littleton, Middlesex County, Massachusetts, recorded with the Middlesex South Registry of Deeds, October 14th, 1925, in the Book of Plans 362, Plan 27.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Can I just ask, in the future, when we do these, and the packages put together, first off, gratitude to Murray Valley, for this donation. Appreciate that greatly, and it's helpful along there. That maybe some other opportunities, that are, the abut the land, so like this particular tract, are there other opportunities there that would be worth pursuing, whether through donation or even by purchase by the town? And then also, because it does deal with money when it's all said and done, this is now taken off the tax rolls as far as taxable property, and certainly the particular piece of property would not have been taxed at all that higher rate, but it is something less. And then just part of a package that's presented to us, so that we have all that objective information as part of what we're approving. Would that be okay?
Sure, yeah, that's fine. Be happy to put that together.
Thank you.
Looking at this map too, I remember a couple of years ago, someone showed me an ad that was in the paper back in the 1920s from Mr. Smadbuck. I think Mr. Smadbuck was out of New York City. And the ad said, "Buy a piece of heaven in Littleton." And you could buy as many of those little lots as you wanted to. So.
There's a bunch of
On
them.
Nantucket, you could get portions of the island with S&H green stamps. Seriously,
S&H
back in the
green
day. And there's little postage stamp size lots where it took years later, someone actually assembling them, the little postage stamp size lots into buildable lots. You'd send checks off to people who didn't even know that their relative owned such a property, and suddenly had a big, expensive lot that he could sell.
Okay, moving on to town meeting.
Town meeting preparations, there's no action item to take, but I thought it would be well just to recap where we are. We've got the list of article assignments as we understood them from our last meeting. I've shared with you the preliminary PowerPoint presentation that we'll have ready for town meeting. The form that it's in right now is what I'll be using to tape a program with town moderator Tim Goddard tomorrow night, to just give folks a general overview of topics in the meeting. If there's any more specific information that you'd like to have in any presentations that board members are doing, I'd be happy to put that information in as well. We sent out the town meeting report booklet to all households in Littleton 2 weeks prior to town meeting. I want to thank again all the town departments and boards for their contributions to that document, which put in everyone's hands what the proposed motions are for town meeting, recommendations, explanations, and fiscal impact. So, and don't forget, it says right on it, it's please bring this with you to the town meeting.
Okay, board, anything?
I notice we don't have a large number of consent agenda.
Well, it's
on here.
it's about the same number as we've had in the past. I think it's about 10 articles in the annual town meeting report. Town officers, revolving funds, stabilization and capital stabilization funds, school trust funds, the senior citizen and veterans tax work-off program, Chapter 90 funds, borrowing authorization, compensating balance agreement, and personal exemption amounts. So we'd be taking up, once the annual town meeting starts, we'd be taking up a motion to unanimously approve those consent agenda items unless someone wants to vote on them separately. And also, we're having a briefing with the town moderator this Thursday morning at 8 o'clock to prepare for to brief him. 8 o'clock this Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah, at 8 a.m. That's just to run through any final changes with the moderator and go over some of the logistics for Monday night.
Anything, board?
We'll be putting out booklets in the next couple of days, too, with backup information, all the, you've gotten a lot of it as separate documents over time, but we're going to put it all in a notebook that you can have, that you can each have for your use in preparing for town meeting on Monday night. We'll be meeting at 6:30 next Monday night, just prior to the 7 o'clock town meeting, to go over any final preparations.
Nothing else, we'll move on to 6A.
6A is the adoption of the many amendments to the financial management policy, which were introduced at your last meeting on April 13th, and which had previously been approved or recommended unanimously by the Financial Policies Working Group and have been adopted already by the Finance Committee. And we had a briefing last time, previous meetings, from Treasurer Steve Venuti, who, along with Bonnie and the Financial Policies Working Group, had really crafted a comprehensive set of updates to the financial management policy.
Any questions on this? We have discussed it in the past.
Ready for the motion?
Yep.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to adopt the proposed amendments to the financial management policy as recommended by the Financial Policies Working Group on March 23rd, 2015, as adopted by the Finance Committee on March 24th, 2015, and as introduced at the Board of Selectmen's meeting on April 13th, 2015.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 6B has to do with the agreement with Littleton LCTV in the town of Boxborough.
Yes, we have reached the agreement with Boxborough on the form of an intermunicipal agreement for Littleton to provide cable services to Boxborough. Specifically, and we discussed this a bit at our last meeting when we did the staffing vacancy review for the LCDV production supervisor. But we're looking at a cost of about $55,200 per year on a 12-month basis for providing our staff at LCTV to operate Boxborough's cable operation for them. Boxborough is very anxious to start. They'd like to start next Monday, this Friday. They'd like to start on May 1st rather than wait for July 1st. Their annual town meeting is May 11th. We're ready. We'd be ready to go to increase the part-time LCTV staff person that you approved last time to full-time, and if that could come on as of this Friday, then we could go ahead with the agreement with Boxborough. The form of this intermunicipal agreement mirrors exactly the form that Boxborough gave to us when we procured services from them, in that case for animal control officer services. We basically flipped the model. Whatever boilerplate language was in there remains the same, but the provider is now Littleton to Boxborough as opposed to the reverse. We negotiated a basic set of services that Boxborough wants to obtain from LCTV. The estimate is that there would be 650 hours over a 12-month period. We've expanded that number and the cost figure from 12 to 14 months. So the term of this IMA is from May 1st of this year to June 30 of next year, 14 months, at a cost of to Boxborough of $64,400, and that would buy them approximately 760 hours of service. That's what we've costed it out at. If there are additional supplemental services that they want beyond the basic service level, that would be at an hourly rate of $85 per hour, which is what Bonnie had costed out the amount to be at. So Boxborough is eager to procure the services, and we're eager to begin to provide them. And
Does Boxborough have its own studio?
they do not. In fact, it's one of their selectmen, did you know? I don't think he operates the camera, but just pretty close to that. It's a rather sparse operation in Boxborough. They have some students that operate a camera. So they would be expanding they have funds set aside to purchase better equipment. They're looking for assistance from our qualified staff to help them make those procurements, to see what they need. They have their own web-based ability to put their programs online, available on demand. They're not doing that yet. They need the technical staff to help them with it. So we think that they'll be able to use our staff, cover the costs that we're incurring for our staff, to offer the folks in Boxborough a quality product for themselves.
Questions from the board? Nope. Look for a motion then?
Okay. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law C.40 subsection 4A to authorize execution of an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Boxborough for the provision by Littleton of LCTV services to Boxborough for the period May 1st, 2015 through June 30th, 2016 for $64,400 with supplemental services at $85 an hour.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 6C, Selectmen's goals for 2015.
I thought it would be well to at least give you a written update for starters on what progress has been made on your goals. I've been keeping a running track throughout the year that I periodically update, and I have to say, overall, I think we've made good progress in addressing a number of them. That some are closer to completion than others. We worked on all of them, but I wanted to share with you this written analysis as a basis for your consideration and further discussion.
And I thank you for doing this. It's good that you keep track of it this way so we can actually reflect back on what we actually accomplished during the year.
Yes, thank
Anything
you.
from the board?
Do you feel like any of the items aren't on track? Any?
Well, I'd have to say, there was one that we had a year ago that we did not, there was a town government organizational review, which I'm not sure what aspirations we had for that goal at the beginning. I had prepared a general update last August, looking back at the 2007 or 2006 Town Government Study Committee report, and updated on a number of those. We've actually, in a few areas, we've done some tweaking. We made some further inroads, I think, in the regulatory function, where that had that combining the regulatory departments under one roof, physically putting them together, were part of what the goal was back in 2006. We had taken some steps to have a common supervisor in that office. I think with the recent change for some additional duties for the position we created of the zoning assistant, permit technician, business administrator, I think we're poised to, make some further inroads there. But there were no, other, I don't think there were any other major organizational things that we looked at in the last year. Some things, I have to say, that they started out being pretty big to look at, for example, the fiscal policy strategic plan, but in fact, the amendments to the policies that you just adopted reflect a huge measure to address our strategic plan for our financial situation. So that was great. We did a lot in reviewing bylaws and regulations. You heard the updates tonight on the public safety strategic plans. The Elder and Human Services Needs Assessment is well underway. That project, I think, when it's done, will have some excellent basis for future policy discussions. We updated the roadway improvement plan tonight. Transportation and commuter rail is a continuing issue for us to cope with. I'm pleased that even though, a couple of things to be pleased about, especially, number one, the MBTA did increase the service for Littleton Station last August, even though they never even issued a press release about it. In fact, the service is there. It was not there for a while this winter when a lot of things were missing, but it's back. We were successful, even though we didn't get a Community Innovation Challenge grant from the state, to look at so-called last mile and reverse commute issues and what kind of help map out what fixed route services we might want to have. Even though we didn't get a Community Innovation Challenge grant, we were successful in having the Massachusetts, or the Boston MPO Central Transportation Planning staff, which is the planning arm of the agency that does all of the funding for transportation projects, that they have now approved a scope of work that will assist the Crosstown Connect communities in developing route, schedule, and operating strategies for first and last mile shuttle service. So that's important. That's going to be a major thing that we're going to build on in the next year. We're still working with the MBTA to increase parking for the commuter rail station, and there's a lot going on there. Economic development policy, that your committee has done yeoman's work, and I think there's a lot more work that's going to be done. Master plan update, which was I'm taking these in reverse order of the numbering. Master plan update on the steering committee, that also involved, in addition to updating the master plan, updating the housing production plan, which was completed, and updating the open space and recreation plan, which is underway, but the latter two with assistance from MEPC and grant funding. But we have our first organizational meeting tomorrow night of the Master Plan Update Steering Committee, and so we're off.
I think this year, taking 10 objectives the way we did, instead of having this
Instead of 60.
enormous
Yeah.
laundry list of items that were definitely unattainable, was a great step in the right direction.
A lot more manageable, yeah.
Yeah. And we're not doing the metric system. No, it's the previous years.
May I just make a one-off on the transportation commuter rail
Yeah.
goal? Separate but marginally related to this, I was speaking to a gentleman in town this past week, and he's recently registered with Uber to drive for them. Now, it certainly only serves a small segment, perhaps, in town, but he's actually been able to take some people from the train station to someplace else where they wanted to go, and vice versa, reverse routing. And all you have to do is go to the web, type in Uber, UBER, and pop. There's the page. Now, what's particularly intriguing about this page, too, is they do have a jet fighter on it, because they have to appeal to those folks.
Uh-huh.
It's part of the military recruitment is what's
So
the
you're going
reason
to
for
put
that.
people up in a jet fighter?
Well, it gets you there pretty quickly. We could maybe build an airport as part of our transportation plan here in town. But no, very seriously, for somebody that's with some extra time, looking for a few extra bucks, and then servicing somebody that may need that transportation requirement.
Yeah, that's
And
an
I won't go into
excellent
the details how it's done, because it's not all that complex. You get an app on the phone and, press from there. But just one of those little pieces that maybe help somebody.
Very interesting.
We'll pay attention to what the governor comes out with for his guidelines.
And he's been working with those
operating
companies,
those
yeah.
Uber companies, yeah.
Under the rules and regulations section that we had, I remember I had written something down and I let it go, but it had to do with signs on the common, signs over roads, and I let the
Yeah.
whole thing go.
Yeah.
Whatever happened, because it was actually written up and you actually tweaked it.
Yeah.
It was written down on one of our things and. it was
Yeah,
just-
we should agenda that for discussion. Yeah, we didn't have a,
'cause one of the reasons I really want to think about that too is that we, as a board of selectmen, even though it's under our control,
Yeah.
the signs that go over any road, the signs that go from the corner, we don't even see them
that's
until
right,
they're up, and I don't think that's,
yeah,
I think they should actually come before us, but that's something we can talk about.
yeah. Be happy to do that, yeah.
Or at least they have to come see you, so we know it's,
Yeah, yes, that would be a great conversation to have, and the Littleton Common Committee might even be a good place to vet the discussion about that.
Just one question back on the transportation. A couple meetings ago, there was some discussion on the parking lot potentially being expanded down at the train station. Because I know if you don't get into the parking lot by the 6:34 train,
Yeah.
you don't get into the parking lot, or you're parking where you shouldn't be parking down there. Is there any activity on that at this point?
Yeah, the most recent update from the MBTA real estate people about a week or so ago was that they had conducted a site visit with some of us, selectmen, Bill and others, and others had given them a tour of the area last fall, and they are believing that about 20 additional spaces could be carved out of their existing property holdings, whether that's from restriping or reconfiguring the 200 spaces, or, and I'm not sure, or whether it might be adding some spaces on the opposite side of Grimes Lane. There's some Mass DOT property. So they had pledged that they would look at engineering additional spaces, and they got back to us recently indicating that they think they can produce about 20 spaces. They could not commit to when they could produce it, since the MBTA has actually got, a lot more that they're having to cope with right now.
Well, that will cover about half of the cars that are illegally parked down there every day.
Yeah,
I mean,
about
that's
that,
just-
yeah.
There's averages right now
Obviously,
between
a
38
need
and
and a
48 a
desire to
day
use it.
that are
Yeah.
in overflow.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been something that's come to this table on a Monday night, but I know that at this table on a Thursday night, the planning board have heard a proposal from a private developer who's looking at
Okay.
developing the property opposite of, which might be able to carve out 80 spaces, but I haven't been updated on that project in a while, but that idea was very intriguing. If there were to be a development of the property across the street, for whatever purpose, whether part of the less usable property could be set aside as additional parking, that would be very helpful, especially if it could somehow become town-owned parking, where we could then have, provide what Acton does, sort of, which is selective parking for its residents, which we can't do now because it's owned by the MBTA, with parking yards. So.
Thank you.
I think if we were to have 80 more spaces, we'd fill them up in short order.
I think so.
Ethan has a question on the organizational review. How
Yeah.
about from an IT perspective? Have you thought about, because I think we've got one resource that manages it, and it probably seems like a lot, so just curious there.
Well, we've gone from part-time to full-time.
Okay, that's good.
So that's one, and but and we can certainly look at whether there's further expansions or whatever, but because the one full-time person we have is very busy and serving all of our municipal departments. Light and Water has its own folks, but we build our IT, architecture is all built on the foundation of the Light and Water department, so.
Yeah, I'm curious just to learn more about that one.
Yeah, be happy to discuss that more.
Moving on, the only one is minutes before executive session.
Move that the Board of Selectmen approve meeting minutes from Selectmen meeting April 13th, 2015.
Second?
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes of Monday, April 13th. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Seeing none, we now have a collective bargaining executive session. We need a motion.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A, Clause 3, to go into executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the town's unions. Since an open meeting may be detrimental to the effect of the bargaining position, the board, of the board, and to convene, and not to convene.
We will convene,
We will convene.
because we've got something to vote on.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right, I forgot about that.
Something to vote on in public
Yeah, yeah,
session
yeah.
afterwards.
And we'll convene in open session thereafter.
Seconded. Moved and seconded, Selectman Hebert.
Aye.
Mr. Carr?
Aye.
Mr. McCurdy? Aye. Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Mr. Knox? Aye. So we're going off the air for a while we discuss this. Thank you for watching.
Okay, we're back in
Welcome back. We're about to enter into a contract that was voted on by this board, and I await a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chair, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to ratify a 3-year contract with the Littleton Dispatch Unit, Massachusetts Coalition of Police Local 204A, for the period of July 1, 2015 through June 30, 2016, with salary schedule adjustments of 2%, 2%, and 2% for the 3 years, and to further vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 150E, subsection 7B, to submit to the May 4th, 2015 special town meeting a request for an appropriation necessary to fund the cost of contained therein.
Jim, there's a typo.
Oh, yeah, the typo, it
2018.
should be 18, sorry.
Not
What did I
2016.
say?
No,
Oh, I'm sorry,
you read
20
what's here, but it should say
2018?
2018, yep.
All right, just change that through June 30, 2018.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Now, this isn't a roll call, right? This is just a...
No, you can do it in open session, just.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
I've
Thank you
got,
for watching.
Copies before you go.